G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to the Trackside Lounge podcast. We're finally back with another episode. Hopefully we've got this in before Christmas, and if we do, Merry Christmas to everybody. We are joined, it's a trio where we're always together. Atom and Nismo, how you going, fellas?
What's up, man? No special guest this time, but it's okay. It's okay.
Nismo, I think you can be the special guest today.
No, we're back to the OGs, man.
The OG trio.
Yeah.
But it's obviously been a little while since the last episode, and that means there is plenty that has happened in the old Gran Turismo verse, I suppose you could call it. There's been a couple of updates, there's been some cars, some tracks, some new features, and of course the Monaco World Tour and the 25th anniversary of Gran Turismo as a franchise. So we've got plenty to get through today, but I think we'll save the meaty, juicy Monaco World Tour for a little bit later, and we'll talk about some of the updates that have come through. So one of the updates previously, this happened before the Monaco World Tour, update 1.26. Now, there was quite a bit that was added in this update. There was some cars. There were 3 of them, in fact. There was a track. There was a much-requested feature. And there was also an improvement to the lobbies, which everybody was crying out for. But I think the first thing I want to talk about, car selling. We can finally do it. What do we think, gentlemen?
I very much regret not exploiting the hell out of the Group B NSX exploit, but hey, how did we know back then what was gonna happen? So,
do you think they're now going to let you sell your engines that you exploitedly got? They might end up. They probably won't. But you can sell cars now, but.
I think even if you could sell the engines and I suppose by extension all the parts, there's stage 5 weight reductions and there's the special camshafts and special all the bits that go a step further. Even if I could sell those, I don't think I would, because obviously I'd rather have them on a car.
When you win those, right? Some of it has like an RRP, basically, like a value. Is that true?
Only the ones that you can purchase, like if you can, if it's just a nitrous kit, or if it's a fully customizable suspension, it just has the price. But if it's stage 5 weight reduction or something, it just comes up with not for sale.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, as for car selling, we've known this feature was on the way for quite a while. Right back at the start, rather, of Gran Turismo 7. In that press release from Kaz, the very, very interesting press release, said it was coming, and then it was months and months since then. I guess we're glad it's finally here, but there was a lot of people whinging about it, so to speak. But now that we've got it, it's been implemented in a very interesting way. It's in the used car dealership, which I guess is appropriate, but I think a lot of people were probably expecting it to be you just go to your garage and you press options on a car and you're able to sell it that way. But no, we've got full valuation, changes daily. So I think they've done that very well. And I'll be honest, right? It wasn't actually a feature I was particularly excited for. I was probably the minority of players that didn't really feel that excited by it. But now that I've got it, I've actually sold a few cars, the ones I have multiples of, and it's actually very satisfying, which is good. I'm assuming we feel the same sentiment.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also good for trimming out the fat. I mean, obviously, you need to buy one of every car if you're the sort of guy who likes to collect everything. And obviously, you got your little Pokédex, so to speak, that you fill out. Once you've done that, then obviously you don't really feel too guilty. Cars that you're never going to drive. Personally, the Peugeot VGT, I'm never going to drive that. Never really going to want to drive that, so I'm happy to sell that. All the VGT versions of the McLaren VGT Group 1, obviously you'd hang on to that because it's Group 1, but the other version, well, what's the point having it there?
Exactly.
It's not, unless it's going to get used for one extremely niche race, but even then you just buy another one, wouldn't you? So it's the way they've implemented it I'm quite happy with, and I think a lot of people will agree that it's better than previous Gran Turismo games, whereupon you would sell it and you'd get maybe a quarter of the price you paid for it. So it's definitely
think it's a good system that they've brought in. It's quite cool, and the dynamic side of it is something they did not need to do at all. Like you said, the expectation was you put a sell button by the car in the garage, but they've actually gone a step further and created a dynamic market for you to sell your car in. And it makes sense that it would be in used cars. Like, it's genuinely a used car dealer now. You can buy and sell in there.
It's interesting, though. It's interesting that you can take a legend car to the used car dealer to sell it, though.
Yeah, but I suppose
it's still a used car, I guess. Yeah,
it is. I suppose.
It. I suppose that's
maybe good old the used car dealer ships it back off to Haggerty or whatever.
They probably would.
Recondition.
that sounds like something they'd do. But
exactly.
Yeah, what my question I had about the whole system is, so we have our kind of like our Pokédex collection system that you referenced before. And if you buy a car or you receive a car, it fills out that slot. If you sell your one and only version of that car that filled out that slot, do you lose that slot in your Pokédex?
You do not. I've already tried that, and I sold pretty much all the original VGT cars, like the ones that don't have interiors or the ones that are just.
So you could have a full car list in the Pokédex system, as we're calling it, and just have one car in your garage. That's great.
Correct. So, you can't sell vehicles that you've obtained through. So obviously, your Porsche 917 and your Nations Cup GR Yaris and all that sort of stuff, you can't sell those. But yeah, anything that you've purchased or anything that you've been given as a gift rather than as a DLC, is fair game. It's interesting that they added the 24-hour cooldown as well. I see it, but I also don't see it. So basically, you can't. So if you exploited the NSX thing, right, you've got 100 Honda NSX Group Bs. You can only sell one every 24-hour period. Not every day. Like, it's not like you can sell one and then wait until 1 p.m. and sell it. If you sell it at 10 p.m., you're not allowed to sell another one until 10:01 p.m.
Just of the same car, though, right?
Of the same car, yeah. So people that have hoarded up all those NSXs are probably still working through them because you're limited to one a day. So, and I suppose in a way that keeps the dynamic, because obviously the price is going up and down any given day. I think the price seems to fluctuate about. I've seen sort of like 2%, 3%. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's like 10% in a day, but on average it seems to sort of ups and downs, and
I wonder if a bug will be introduced at some point that values a Honda Fit or Honda Jazz or whatever it is at like 3 million credits, and it's like a glitch or a bug, and it's wrong, and then you sell it and you make all this money.
You make all the money back. Yeah,
you make heaps of money, and then you just buy another one for 30,000 credits.
Well, one of the only gripes that I have with because the way that they've implemented, obviously the car itself it's an appraisal system, right? It's not a sale; it's an appraisal. So you take your car, you've got your Atom. What do you drive? A Honda NSX Group 3 or something like that?
Totally. See Atom driving that NSX all the time.
Midships are my favourite.
Honestly, you know what? It was the first thing that came to mind. I thought this guy.
You had the Group B on the brain, so now you're like, Atom drives Group 3. Yeah. There's a Honda NSX in Group 3. Let's roll with that.
Probably. Okay.
Lexus.
I do like a Lexus. I'll take the L for that one. But anyway, so you got your car. And it appraises it based on its condition. So obviously if its oil needs doing or if its engine needs doing, but it also appraises it based on how much tuning you've done. So, and it's even down to if you've bought different tires for it, then it's factored into the price. So, but what they've done, because obviously the immediate question is, well, what about cars that have had engine swaps, you see? And what they've done is they've put a flat rate on it. So if you engine swap a Mini Cooper or an RX-7 or something, it basically just flat rate. So the price only goes up by, I think it's like 50 grand, regardless of what engine. So the RX-7...
You would have received that engine for free as well. So technically, you can sell engine swaps.
Yeah. Yes, but when the RX-7 engine is $1 million and you're selling it for 50 grand... as far as value, we're talking value. So
value, you're obviously not getting what it's worth, but you are making money because you didn't pay for the engine in the first place. If you had a lot of them, it wouldn't really matter. And if you were, if the RX-7 was being valued at roughly the same as what you can buy it for, and you had a lot of those engine swaps, you could buy them up, engine swap them, and then sell them for, I guess you'd make like 20,000. It wouldn't really be worth it, but I mean, it's free money.
It's there. It's there. It's an option.
It is. And I mean, when the update first dropped, I had a Ferrari FXXK and a McLaren P1 GTR that I'd won in the ticket roulette. So it was
damn lucky.
So it was surplus. It was surplus to my. I already had one. And
right.
The FXX was even in the same color I'd bought it, so it was like, oh, okay. So I sold those, and that was like, I think I got 1.7 mil for the McLaren, and like probably about the same for the FXX, like 1.9. So
good Lord.
That was pretty not bad. Free money.
That would have been hefty. That would have been nice.
So sold all my safety cars. Sold all my, I'm unsafe. I'm unsafe. So. But,
Nismo, the financial connoisseur of Gran Turismo. Get him in as your accountant. He'll have you with 20 million credits in no time.
Yeah, I'll sell all your cars and make you rich. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so I had like $4 million before the update. Now I'm sitting on like 27 million. So.
Oh, that's right. You sold a load of cars.
I didn't have that many cars.
Yeah, no, I don't either. I only had 3 multiples.
Yeah, I had like 3 or 4 duplicates, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't play as often as I should, I think. What I wanted to add as well, I think the next step for it is the option to sell a gift car immediately when you receive it. So, like, if you receive it and you already have it, a notice can come up saying, car already stored in garage.
Do you want to sell it? Yeah. I don't think you need to.
I feel like there's only so many steps to get to the used car lot, so
you're not going
to introduce something like that.
I think the other thing too is that you can't sell a car that you're currently driving. So if you get the gift car and it stores it in your garage, so you can just go straight to the dealership anyway and appraise it. So I don't think.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think you're being a little lazy there, Smoke, but it's okay. It's okay.
Fair enough.
I just want a discard button.
Okay. Well, that's car selling. It's good that we've got it, and I think pretty much everyone is happy it's finally here, and then people can now stop whinging on Twitter about it.
It was overdue, but they did a good job of
that. I'll find something else to whinge. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh.
The road Atlanta track limits, for example.
Oh, whoa. I was going to say, like, qualifying in lobbies also not being present until update 1.26.
Yeah.
That was finally added, which is good.
That's a nice segue there. I see how you did that.
It is, yeah. You see what I did there. See, I've...
He's a clever guy, our Smock.
Yeah, not as silly as I look. Not that you'd know. But yes, lobbies, they're slowly getting improved. I haven't been in a lobby for a little while, so I'm not sure how the connection situation is, but at least you can actually finally have a practice session, have a qualifying session, and have a race, which I would say are the three building blocks for a good racing session. We can finally now do that, which is good. Okay, the updates, or did someone want to add anything?
I don't believe that the connections are any better after the last update. We were still having massive problems with one of the guys in Sector 1 on Sunday.
Okay.
Gone. So they're no better. They're okay most of the time. It was just this one guy. They still need work. The servers still need work.
Yeah,
there's something going on there. But qualifying is a really good addition. The guys who were running Sector 1 were actually like talking about it on the broadcast. They were like, oh, it's so good to have qualifying back. Have you guys used it yet?
Not personally,
I haven't used it yet.
No.
So an interesting new feature of the qualifying system. So there's two things of note that are different from Gran Turismo Sport. So when you begin qualifying, you get your 10-second countdown, as we've always had. That pops up in the middle of the screen, and then when that countdown ends, it doesn't cut to black. It fades to black, very slowly, and you can keep driving for like a good 5 or 6 seconds, I think. Which is really, and you can hear the car, but the screen goes black, and you can still hear the car, and you could like drive it into a wall or whatever. Which is an interesting thing that they've been doing for kind of a while. There's, I think it was, I can't remember, but that's a thing. But what they have added, which is a great addition to qualifying that is considerably better than sport, is that you practice, you qualifying, you race. So you practice for as long as you want. When you're ready to go, you start the qualifying session. Qualifying session gets run. Qualifying session finishes. everyone's back to the paddock menu, and the lobby owner has to then manually start the race.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's good.
That's a huge change that I think is going to fly under the radar a little bit.
I think I know why they did that.
That is extremely useful for applying grid place penalties or anything like that.
Yes.
I was just going to say, can the lobby owner then adjust the grid?
I don't know if they can, but if they can, then great. That's ideal.
That would be an interesting dynamic to add, whereupon you do your qualifying session, here's the results, Atom's first, Smokes second, Nismonath, but then...
Flex! Atom faster than Smokes! Yes!
I'll cop it.
Nismo is subconsciously calling me better.
Well, I'm also calling you dirty, because what I was going to say was that, Atom's got a two-place grid penalty from the previous race or something, so the manager then...
he obstructed someone on their flying lap during qualifying.
Yeah.
He went over his gearbox allowance, that must have been it.
He had to get a new engine.
New ICE. Back in the
game. Okay, that's good. I didn't actually know that. I reckon I know why they've done that. Because of the dynamic weather, they need to give people an opportunity to switch from a qualifying tyre onto an appropriate tyre to start the race. So, again, I'm not actually fully across how the weather sorts itself out from qualifying to the race, because I've had kind of mixed results when I've taken note of it. Sometimes it's not the same as quality, and then sometimes it is. But I guess
in lobbies,
in the case
it's always the same for quality and the race. It may have changed now. I don't believe it has, but it may have changed from practice to the race. Excuse me. But the only time we've seen... Thank you. The only time we've seen the weather change from qualifying to race is in the newest series that had the newest GT World Series events that had wet weather at Spa, and the qualifying was dry, and you'd start the race with a 50% wet track. So that's the only time we've seen a change like that that's required you to change tyres. It may be that you can now control that in the lobbies. I haven't checked that, but that would be cool if it was.
I just thought maybe it'd let you have a 20-minute qualifying session where it dries out by the end.
Well, it's good to have allow you to change tyres anyway, because
exactly.
It was always the thing in Gran Turismo Sport. You had to put on the tyre that you wanted to start the race on, and then if you wanted to change your tyre to something if you had to use the hards and you wanted to start the race on the hards, no matter what, you had to pick that before you started qualifying. You had to select that, put it on the car, start qualifying, pit in the first lap, and put on the softs, and then you could go qualify. But now you can just put on the softs or the softest, go do your qualifying, and you go back to the paddock menu, change your tyres, and then you're good for the race.
That's good. But I reckon that whole thing is a really good change. I wasn't aware of that.
It's good too from a broadcasting. It's good too from a broadcasting standpoint, because the likes of Sector 1 and all that, of course, they can do the qualifying session and they can actually break down the results a bit more rather than just, here's the results.
Yeah, you get a good amount of time to go over the grid, because what it always was on the broadcast, and I've streamed for Sector 1 before, and what happens is after qualifying, you're trying to memorize the tower so you can quickly go through it on the grid, because you get a quick grid shot which pops up the entire grid list. You don't have enough time to read through that whole list of 14 or 15 drivers. You probably see 6, if you're lucky, and read through them. Oh, this person's on pole. Second person here. Second row is led off by this person, and this person's joining them. And then, we're about to start the race. I can't go through the rest of the grid. So, you can't exactly do a grid walk with the paddock menu there, but you can do a summary of qualifying, which is a good thing to have there.
One of the controversial, one of the additions I'd like to see is being able to have the grid walk either enabled or disabled.
Oh yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
Enable grid walk.
Yeah.
Grid
walk on or off. Yeah, it would be so easy.
For
could have a lobby intro.
Yeah.
Different music.
For
cool,
that
man.
very reason.
Yeah.
And then you've got people going, okay, well that's person 1, person 2, and it actually goes through the grid rather than, like you say, having to sort of take a quick photo of the results, memorize it, like you say, by the time you've sort of worked out your first 3 rows, the grid walk sort of was already done, and they're racing.
It wouldn't be hard to implement. The grid walk already exists. Exactly. So, they could just throw it in. But they never did for sport, and they probably could have easily done it there as well. So, I don't know if they will. I'd love for them to.
Yeah, but they were learning.
That's okay. We'll just get as many people as possible to put it up in the Twitter replies. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
but you got to do it in the
update post. Update coming this week. Yeah. Add this car. Add this track. Fix this bug.
It's going to be really funny too. It's going to be really funny too from a retrospective point of view, because to those watching, obviously we're recording this the day before 1.27. So for all we know, some or all of these things could even come in the update. We don't know yet, because
that's true.
What time is it right now? 7 o'clock New Zealand time. So we're literally about probably 23 hours from the update dropping as of recording this right now. So that's going to be really, not saying that we're going to get those, but there might be obviously other additions or upgrades, or lobbies might finally get more stable or something. But we say the same thing every update too, and they are working on it. They've made it very clear that issues are getting ironed out one by one.
There's heaps of subtle things that are getting changed and fixed. There's always one good one every update, it seems. And adding
the horn?
There's been 2 this time. The horn.
I reckon the horn was that one, and then the update where they moved the countdown timer for a timed race from the side up to the top middle of the screen.
I didn't notice that they changed that. I thought that was a GT7 thing exclusively.
Yeah, no, they changed it.
I'll tell you what's bad about that though, is that if you're a spectator and you're watching in a lobby, even if you're there from the race start, you don't get to see the timer.
Oh,
is that true?
I don't think you do.
Oh, hey, that's a load of crap.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. So we'll go back to Sector 1 for lobbies. Sector 1's a really good example for lobbies, because they're trying to use all the features they can, and they're just so limited by the lack thereof. But they got a new admin, and he's really handy with all the the streaming stuff and the just computer stuff in general. He talks about these things called scripts, which I know are PC things that do awesome things that you need to know how to use and whatnot. But he's set up like a graphic in the top of the screen with a timer, and he can boot that on the fly on the stream, and he can even adjust it as well.
Yeah, okay.
He adjusted it for the race on the weekend just gone, because we had to cut a race short because we had a red flag, and then they restarted the race, and he started the race with the original timer. And then he was like, oh, that's a bit long, 5 minutes. And he realised, and he was like, oh. And then he just saw the numbers tick down, and it was suddenly 10 minutes later. And it was like, oh, sweet.
That's cool.
So, yeah, it looks great. It looks great. So he's had to put that in there. So you can't get around it. But, the only way to truly track the time of the race when you're spectating is to watch the total time down the bottom. And then, obviously, when it hits the 50-minute mark, or whatever the timer is, so for Sector 1 it's 50 minutes, when it ticks over 50 minutes, last lap, the finishing up. Yeah. But otherwise, you don't know.
The one thing I really miss from GT Sport, and I'm very curious as to why this didn't carry over, is basic keyboard compatibility. Especially
I saw a tweet about this recently, I think, saying that it's not even in the data mines. There's nothing there for it. So it's possibly not coming ever. Which is wild, because that was such a handy feature.
It was so handy, and going back even well, I don't know about even older than Sector 1, but Monkey Matt used to get really good with there was
he has a little Logitech wireless keyboard that has all the keys labelled with what they do. So he figured them all out and used them.
Yeah, and it was so watching his streams, and I think most of them pretty lost to Twitch now, because obviously they delete after 2 weeks, and I don't think anybody really saved them, because we just didn't.
He archived all the races between me and Simon in the Nations Cup, interestingly, the ones that he broadcast back. I'm pretty sure you can go find all of them. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome. But he got real good with being able to follow the action, change to the appropriate driver, because obviously you had the different keys if you wanted to go to first place.
You could jump straight from first to fifth to 10th,
The really good one that he pretty much mastered was being able. There was a command where you could you could hit a button and it would do like the little transition and rewind to like 30 seconds prior, or you could.
So there was a replay feature which I learned to use for Sector 1, and it was fantastic. So if I remember correctly, the Z button on the keyboard time-stamped the moment you pressed it, and then you had 3 keys next to it, and each one would begin a replay. They would action a replay using that timestamp as a reference. The first key was 5 seconds earlier than the timestamp. That's when the replay would start and play 5 seconds. The next one was 10 seconds, and the next one was 15 seconds. So they would progressively go back further. So if you saw something happen and you'd only caught the end of it, you'd timestamp it and you'd go for a longer replay. Or if you caught the whole thing, then you'd timestamp it and you'd go for a shorter replay because you don't need the whole thing. And it depended how much of it you wanted to see. If you wanted to see the build-up, whatever it was, you know, there was a lot of flexibility with that feature. And yeah, I think Monkey Matt was kind of one of the pioneers of that. In Oceania, Sector 1, they had a really good guy on that as well, a guy called Ghost, who is actually the reason I joined Sector 1 in the first place, because he was such a good commentator and camera director. So he had the replays locked down as well. So they were a really awesome feature, and I really hope they bring them back, because that really added a level of professionalism to any broadcasts that were, you know, casting Gran Turismo.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the question I have. How are they able to do it at the World Tours? If, like... They have like a custom build of a game or something.
The World Tour's got a completely different...
It's run from like PCs and stuff.
I realise that, but I mean, like, it has to be coded somewhere for them to be able to use it. It's just a matter of...
The animations themselves definitely exist, you know, and if they can do it for sport, they can absolutely do it for GT7. It just seems they're not interested in doing it for some reason.
I think it was it McEwen we had on, and he was talking about this, about how they've got, you know, race directors, but they've also got production directors, and they've got all those people doing that sort of thing. That if
it's quite a large scale team, I think.
Yeah, it's quite the operation, and that's the sort of thing that you think. So you think World Tour, and you think, oh, haha, Tom and Jimmy. You know, and obviously the Spanish commentary and the Italian commentary and all that, but like behind the scenes, there's quite the
commentary's the easy job, man. The commentary's the easy job. There's so much. Like I can't imagine what that room that has all the information and all the screens looks like, and how many people are crammed in there doing who knows what. Because like you've got someone trying to source replays from different camera angles, set them up, and then they're ready to play, and then they've got to give it to this guy who's going to press a button to set off that replay, because the replays are always crisp and perfect. They're always capturing the right thing. I've only seen once on a Gran Turismo World Series where they've gone back to do a replay and it's been the wrong incident, or it's been, you know, nothing at all. Nothing happened on the replay. But they have someone there, clearly, who... Incident happens, sweet. They've got a screen, they can scroll through all the cameras, they can rewind precisely, I would imagine, with like a cursor back to where they want to start it, and they can get their camera angles, they can change their camera angles, they can adjust what they want to do, chop it up like editing a video, about 10 seconds long, and then go, here, press the F button, and it will play this replay on the broadcast. Done. You know? And then not only that, but they've got to do exactly the same thing for the stewards if they're investigating an incident, and then that's got to be run hand in hand with the replay that's going to be on the broadcast. They got to go through it and make sure they're not going to broadcast anything that looks too bad, because they don't want to make their drivers look bad, because we don't like looking bad in Gran Turismo. You don't do things that make you look bad. But anyway,
drinking game for bad. Goodness me.
But they got to go through all this
any more drinking games. Look at
Check out Twitter.
I have had a few this evening. No, but you know what I mean, right? So they're setting up this for replay for entertainment purposes, and they're going to cut out what they don't want and keep what they do want. Not only that, they have to allow the stewards to have access to all the footage, all the angles, whenever they want it and however quickly they need it. So that's already at least 3 screens we've got going on in there at once, and 3 different people or sets of people monitoring different things. So yeah, I can't imagine how busy it would be in there, and I imagine I've got a very simple grasp of it there. I'm sure there's a lot more going on than I'm describing.
I was about to say, I don't want to do you a disservice, but this is all, like, for lack of a better word, speculation.
It is
We've got actually no idea, but
I suppose...
like, it would have to at least be as complicated as that, which is still pretty complicated.
That's the bare minimum, I think, personally.
I reckon, like, if you guys have ever seen one of those, like, behind-the-scenes videos of, like, a film production, and you got, like, director's office, and there's, like, all the different cameras that show all the little angles, but then there's the one in the middle, which is the main program. Like, you can't tell me that they don't have one camera on every single driver at any given point, and then they just...
I bet they can see it all at once.
Yeah.
Every camera that they've got rolling, not only every physical camera they've got in the building, but also every camera angle in the game. From a spectating perspective, the onboard of each car, the onboard from various angles, and then obviously spectating perspective on all of them to see what kind of looks good and what doesn't. So there must be so much going on from a TV perspective.
Maybe not like the... I think it would probably be more like, because have you noticed every time that, well, not every time, 99 times out of 100 when they do one of those instant replays, it's that roof camera that they've got, the one that we don't.
The roof camera is so good. I want that.
Yeah, I love the roof camera.
So I reckon they must all be trained on. And again, look, purely speculation. We don't know. We're not PD. So, but they might just have every single car on that camera, and then obviously if Yamanaka's not involved in the events of the race, that camera can putt along. But if it's Gallo versus Bonelli, then obviously they're going to focus on those two, and then if if Kokubun buys into the battle, then they can all just sort of mix and mingle depending on who's getting involved in what drama at any given point. So it's
got to require so much on the fly movement and reaction times. That race director's got to be on their toes all the time. Like, not only the replays and getting those angles right, but they also have features like the picture-in-picture, where they bring the screen smaller and they add the driver here and the driver there, and they've got the name assigned below it and the name assigned below it, and for the manufacturers, then they've got the rest of the team underneath it. And I've actually seen them be put up as a mistake, and they very quickly get rid of it. Like, they've had Gallo on the screen, and they've had Beauvoir's name underneath him, and then they're like, oh shit, and they quickly take it back just to race action full screen. It's quite funny to see, but that's just another thing that they're doing in there.
You occasionally even see that in real life motorsport. I saw it in supercars on the Adelaide round that just went, and I've seen it in Formula 1 too, and it went around on Twitter a bit because they had the wrong name under a celebrity or something, and it was quite amusing.
I don't remember what it was, that's hilarious. It shows it happens even in the very, very best podcast.
Exactly.
It's the horrors, I suppose, of working with live TV. I mean, live television or broadcast or streams, there's always
the best example. You guys remember Monaco, the Lance Stroll animation?
Oh yes. Yes.
The Monaco TV rights coming in clutch with that one.
How good. Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it? It was someone on there flying lap, and they were about to go pole, and then they're like, no, we're going to show a replay of Lance Stroll exiting the pit lane for no reason.
Slightly hitting the curb or something. On a slight off-topic tangent, did anybody... So you guys watched the Adelaide racing?
Yeah.
I didn't see it, no.
How good was Cam Waters' driver's eye cam?
Oh, that was awesome. Mind-blowing. Right. That was so... Because I've never seen that angle in a supercar before.
Well, no one has.
Until it flashed up. Yeah, okay, no one has, Until it flashed up on the screen, I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
What was it? Was it his perspective? Like, helmet cam?
It was a driver's eye camera. And
there's a little camera behind his helmet lens. Just like they've introduced into... like they've done for Formula 1.
They did it for, I think it was practice, and I think part of the qualifying session. And I'm sitting there going, oh, dude, there's no way they do it during the race, right? But they did it. They did it during the race. They did a full...
So good. They need more of that.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was my
They should give one every driver.
What did you learn from it? What did you learn from it? What did you see that you were surprised to see?
I've got one. The amount he was looking around, he was like...
Was he moving his head like this all the time?
He was moving it... Oh, not all the time. Actually, it was... The moment I got in my head was actually when he entered the pit lane, but he entered the pit lane and his head did not stop moving.
No.
There wasn't a moment where he was just idle, relaxing. He was looking in the mirror, seeing the progress of the tyres or whatever, seeing if the fuel was still in, and then looking up in the mirror to see if there's anyone coming down the pit lane, I guess. And then Yeah, it was just head
great.
moving around and then bang, the car's gone. It's like, geez, that's...
So he doesn't relax in a pit stop. That's crazy to think about.
The thing about it is that's pretty true IRL. Like even when we're doing the NASCAR stuff and all of that, like you don't stop looking, and obviously when you're going down like a back straight or something, you think, oh, you can chill, but like you're still keeping an eye out for cars, and if you know that there was a faster car a couple corners back, well, now he might well have caught you by now, so you got to keep an eye out for that. It's kind of like obviously we don't have the radar like you do in GT7, but it's you keep looking, you keep blocking that sort of picture, you keep sort of where is everyone, who am I catching, who's catching me.
It's the mental radar.
Yeah, keeping tabs on who's around you, because obviously if you go, oh well, I'll just pass this guy and there's a guy passing you, well then you're
look out.
So yeah.
Well, I think we'll touch on briefly some of the cars that have been added recently. So there were 3 in the previous update, and there are another 5 that are going to be added tomorrow.
Yep.
Quick side note, it's good how the number of cars are going up, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really filling out that catalogue, eh?
Yeah, they are. It's good to see. But, okay, so in the previous update, we had the BMW M2 competition, the Ford Sierra Cosworth. Have I got that name correct?
Yeah, that went, the RS 500, that went down a treat with some of my colleagues when they came over to try out the sim. They loved it. Because we worked for Ford, so they were like, okay. Crazy.
That's great. And then the last one was the Nissan Silvia, the Ks. I forget the generation designation, but it was like a facelift.
Yeah, that's the one that should have been added rather than that older one.
Okay.
I saw that pop up and I was like, why are they doing this? It's the same car.
I mean, Gran Turismo, I think they're known for that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some of their older games.
Multiple variations of the same car. Yeah. But most of the time it's usually just like the premium option, like the very last car of its run. Yeah. Like, for example, the Mazda RX-8 Spirit R. It's the best and greatest RX-8 that was ever made.
The top trim kind of thing.
Yeah, it was the last year. There was only so many made. It was the best engine. It had the best chassis. It was all facelifted, blah, blah, blah. It was the best RX-8 that was ever made. And that's the one
It's a commemorative edition.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, as for those cars, I think the Sierra hit the community the hardest, I guess, in a good way.
In a positive way, yeah. That sounded really negative.
Yeah. I know, as I was saying, I was like, hold on, I don't mean it like this. People love the Sierra, I think, out of that particular update.
Sierra was certainly the shining star of the trio, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then, you've also got, like, the individual enthusiasts of the other cars. Like, I'm a BMW guy. I like a good BMW, so I'm happy to see the M2 competition in there. I'm not a big GTAm fan, but I'm sure...
I'm a big GTAm fan.
Yeah, you are. So
admittedly, Silvias aren't really my thing, to be honest.
Oh,
surprisingly. Yeah, I'm a Toyota guy.
All right, fair enough.
GTRs, Silvias not so much.
I think the M2 is a bit of an underrated gem, to be fair, because it makes a nice change from the BMW showroom basically just being M3s. Like, you've got the E92, the E46, you've got all these...
Yeah, that's right.
You've got the M4, but now we've got the M2 to flesh it. It's like when the Porsche, that road-going version of the Carrera came out, it was nice because it wasn't a 911. It was something fresh, something new, something a bit against the grain, so, yeah.
I mean, I'd like to see an M5 in there. That'd be good.
Definitely.
There's an M6 race car.
There is. I'd like to see the M6 road car, though. That'd be great.
Yeah. I don't actually know what that looks like, because that car looks like a race car, the M6.
It does. I've seen a couple on the street. It's like... They look very big. It's only like a 2-door car.
They are big cars, man. The M4 is big.
Massive.
The M4 is large. It looks small in the game. Like, it's one of the smaller Group 4 cars. But it's a big car.
Yeah.
It's a lot of car.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we've got an update that's scheduled tomorrow. We've only got the silhouettes for now, but I think everyone's pretty much worked out what all the cars are going to be. Shall we run through them?
Yeah, go on.
Why not?
We've obviously got we'll get the big one out of the way, or the obvious one. The Ferrari VGT is on the way. That one got revealed at Monaco, so I don't think anyone is surprised about that. What do we think of the Ferrari VGT? Meh.
It's one of those.
A lot of people were following it on Twitter.
Yeah. I think it's one of those ones that it looks really like far out and futuristic, but then when you remember that Ferrari are also working on a hypercar, like when the hypercar gets announced, you're going to see a lot of people sort of drawing parallels. This is similar to that. Kind of looks
Hold
like
on
that.
2 seconds. That you've just jogged my memory there. I haven't watched it yet, but there's a YouTube channel called Car Wow. You've probably heard of them. They're pretty popular.
Yeah.
Are they the guys that do the big long drag races?
Yeah, they do other stuff too, but yeah, majority of the drag races. His video from yesterday, hopefully, was this. Is that going to focus? There we go.
La Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess that's what you're talking about. That's their new hypercar, I suppose.
No. Their new like the Le Mans.
It's still in development.
Hypercar.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yes. Sorry.
Not hypercar,
I understand.
Hypercar, race car, hypercar.
Yeah.
Hypercar.
Hold on.
Yeah, gotcha. I'm across it now.
No, yeah.
You're looking it up.
The Ferrari VGT.
I forget the name.
Things like the Ferrari VGT, I'm not really like bothered with. You know.
There you go, Smoke.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's a pretty looking car, to be fair.
It looks a lot like.
I'd like to get that. I'd like to get that in GT7.
Could be a group.
I'd also like that Peugeot, that new Peugeot with no rear wing.
That looks gorgeous.
Yes, please. Yeah,
no rear wing.
X8, that's the name.
No
rear wing.
They've managed to do the aerodynamics in such a way they don't need a rear wing.
Wow. I wonder if it would be better if they had a rear wing.
That'll be the Evo. That'll be the Evo 2 model.
They're probably limited. They've probably got a downforce limit.
Oh, right. Yeah. So they've managed to keep all the downforce and reduce the drag by getting rid of a wing.
Yeah,
nice.
Pretty cool.
Clever people.
Okay.
So the Ferrari
car engineers.
The Ferrari's obviously the one that we all knew was coming, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be great for the people. Like, there's always going to be the people that complain, "Oh, it's another VGT. It's not realistic. It's not, it's some far-fetched fantasy." But I don't know if you guys agree with me on this one. Probably a bit of a hot take, but the latest VGTs that we've been seeing have been a lot more down to earth and a lot more realistic.
Suzuki VGT comes to mind.
Suzuki VGT was a hybrid sports car, right? It was a little cute open top thing. The Porsche VGT was an electric supercar, which, let's be honest, who isn't working on electric supercars at this, this day and age? And now we've got the Ferrari VGT, which...
I've got an oddball, right?
Oh, yes?
I've got an oddball that I believe can be added to that list. A couple of weeks ago, we had Daily Race A at Monza with the Lamborghini VGT.
Oh, yeah.
Where I decided to give that a go because I was like,
So that was the EMEA regional final for Nations.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It was one of those ones. I expected to jump into that Lamborghini and it'd stick to the road, stiff as hell suspension, and just like stop on a dime, like that kind of unrealistic feeling, video game type physics. Jumped into it. Man, it was wallowing around. It's got like a delay in the gear change. So like when you were going through Curva Grande, you'd shift gear and the car would like move a bit. Like you'd have to like correct the steering on the gear change because it was like the weight like lurched forward as if a clutch was being engaged. And that took me by surprise. It was actually a lot harder to drive than I thought it would be. But it feels like it could be a real car.
Yeah, I think they've done pretty well in simulating the feel of a lot of those VGTs to feel like they're kind of described to feel. Like the Suzuki VGT's obviously got the Hayabusa engine, which is just a little motorbike engine. It's not got a lot of power, and we drove it around Sardinia, and it was a handful, but not because of its power, because it was a road car, and it drove like a road car. So I think they're pretty accurate with the VGTs, and they don't make them wildly high performance in a way that they shouldn't be. I don't think they've ever done that.
No.
They've always been kind of like, if they actually built this car for real, this is what this car would drive like. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I think remembering that obviously the Tomahawk, which is by far the most universally hated VGT, right? Let's be real.
Unless you can exploit its performance points and get loads of money. Unless you can exploit
its performance points and make loads of money. But I think maybe after the release of that, PD might have sort of been like, okay, guys, just rein it in a little bit, because you had the Chaparral as well, which was this mega horsepower, like completely impossible car.
Oh, the 2X? Was it 2X?
Yeah,
it's got like, bro, the thing's got like a turbine out the back. It like, doesn't have a torque figure.
Yeah, it's a laser powered
that's
thing.
it.
So, what I'm getting at is ignoring those ones, like the VGTs in general are usually pretty grounded and pretty down to earth.
Yeah.
It's just that people don't like that they're not commercially available. It's not like they're available cars.
It's not a real car. I want real cars.
McLaren even have they're making a car which is pretty much just the McLaren VGT. It's called the
that's it.
I don't know what it's called, and it doesn't have the funky right because the McLaren VGT you ride it or something. You're straddling it like a motorbike or something. Whereas this particular have you if you've ever looked at the launch trailer for the McLaren, the driver's head's like way forward, and you're almost like in a motorbike position.
Wow.
Like it doesn't look comfortable at all. But this particular one, obviously, it's a more conventional driving style. But the car itself is, and they've even outright said, well, we pretty much just updated the McLaren VGT. So the Vision GT program is contributing a lot more than like the casual gamers want to credit it for. So
the cars are genuinely designed and created and engineered by the companies themselves. You know, they're not just Gran Turismo saying, "Can we just build this car and call it yours?" That's not how it happened.
It makes me think. I was actually thinking about this quite recently. Have they? I do wonder if the VGT program is like to the point where the manufacturers could produce a real life example if they wanted to.
There was one
because
they have.
Yeah,
because like
one got made.
Yeah, they do.
That one got made. Nate will know more about it than I do, but I remember seeing it somewhere. I think it was McLaren.
So that no. Let's see. They've made the Nissan, the Mercedes, the Volkswagen, the Honda. I think has a working functional model. A lot more of them get made than you think.
Right. Okay.
The Volkswagen, they actually surprised Kaz. They didn't. There's this video of them revealing it, and Kaz was standing there like, "What the heck? This is awesome!" Because it was the Roadster before the
okay.
Yeah. So
that's great.
They do get made a lot. You know, sometimes they get made into like models. Obviously, they're just
the ones that are the world tour models, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
But there are some. I mean, the Nissan VGT is basically just an R35 with a reskin. You know, it's just a futuristic body, isn't it? So some of them are more.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the R35 or the Nissan VGT. It's obviously a GTR, like it's if there was an R36 kind of thing. It shares a lot of looks with the new Z. I feel like it has some similarities to it.
Okay.
I'm googling this right now.
Just some kind of exterior design cues that just kind of strike me as a little bit similar. The boxiness, for one, is one thing. Like I've like the Nissan Z looks like a VGT car. I'll be honest. It looks like it should be a VGT and it should be in production.
I think the key thing to remember, and I'm looking at this now, right? I think the key thing to remember too is that there's about 10 years from the VGT to the 400Z, so I can see, I see what you're saying, and definitely it looks like something that would be a VGT, but it looks like something that would have been a VGT, a decade ago, rather than like if they came out today, like, hey, here's the new Nissan VGT 2.
Boring.
Yeah.
But it kind of shares some style cues. Like it's
I see a little bit.
It's not like there's like a component on it, like the headlights that look exactly the same, but it just looks like they were both designed by the same person. You know,
they very well might have been.
Somebody's gone and done a Nissan VGT Group 3 concept.
I like that.
Yeah,
complete with the Bathurst 12-hour livery.
Cool.
That's nice.
I do like that. Man, that'd be cool to get that one.
The 400Z is pretty crap, though. Did you guys drive it around the time trial when it was a thing?
Yeah.
Not really. I didn't have the time for it.
I did.
I gave it a go.
A lot of people were having a whinge about it and saying they didn't like it. And it wasn't amazing, but it was just a loose road car, you know?
Yeah, but it was on sport hard tyres, though, wasn't it?
Good question.
Yes.
It might have been.
See, this is the thing. So many of these cars... and people complain about, it's such a terrible car to drive. more often than not, if you just put sports softs, not even racing tires, just sports softs, and that mitigates it. It doesn't make it an angel, but it at least makes it a bit more drivable. Like the sport hard tires are very quick. Like I remember, was it Gran Turismo Sport, I think, and even high-end hypercars like the Aston Martin 177 came on sport hards, and it's like, what are you thinking? This needs that needed sport softs at the very minimum just to be somewhat drivable. So tire choices are a bit of a curiosity when you buy cars in Gran Turismo, but like I said, more often than not, you can just whack better tires on them, and you're straight away. That's all the tuning they need.
What's interesting about tyre selection for road cars is that if you just throw racing slicks on a normal road car, it actually drives like crap, which I think is really cool, because obviously you would generally throw racing tyres on a car and then modify the suspension to suit those tyres or adapt it to suit the tyres, because the way, and it was that way on sport as well. If you threw a really fast Ferrari on racing soft tyres, the car would handle really unusually, like it would lose grip and then it would suddenly find grip and it would just throw you. And I think that was really cool. You have to throw it on sports tyres so that the lack of grip actually makes it more drivable. Like the car slides in a much more controllable manner, and then you would have to adjust the suspension to account for racing slicks. I think one of the tuning aspects of it that gets mentioned in the tuning instructions in the game is natural frequency. It says that it should be between this and this for road tyres, and it should be between this and this for something that's on race tyres. And that's like one of the important things. And I think all the other suspension aspects also have to be changed. But it's cool that a lack of grip can actually make a car drive better, because it's just better suited to it.
I think a lot of people, and this is probably one of the primary, well, not primary, but I suppose people coming from Gran Turismo Sport to Gran Turismo 7 might not have as much of a handle on this, but tuning matters. Like, if but GT Sport, right, you spend your mileage points and you unlock your little sliders. Here's your minimum power, here's your maximum power, you just slide it, and then you do the same for the weight, right? But the tuning in GT7 is so in-depth, and I already know straight away there'll be people, it's not that in-depth, Forza does it better or whatever. But if you put a high lift camshaft in your engine, it's going to rev higher, isn't it? Or the rev range is going to be higher. But then if you do a stroke, if you stroke up your engine, your RPMs are actually going to be lower. Both of them still add power, but they still change the characteristics of the engine. It's a dynamic. It actually changes the behavior of your car. It's like even down to little things like weight reduction actually makes the interior, the cockpit cam of your car sound louder, because it removes all the sound insulation.
Oh, does it?
Yeah,
that's cool.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Stage 1 and 2, I think. Stage 1 and 2 alter the volume of the inside the car, because it removes
something really
cool. Okay.
Do you remember that little kind of series that you did that was like on Twitter, and it was two identical photos side by side, one before tire wear and one after tire wear?
Yeah.
You should do something like that for this. And other stuff like that.
Yeah, go on.
We didn't know that. And I guarantee there's so many other people out there who also didn't know that. And I think you could throw so much content.
That's how you get those likes.
That's
how you get those likes.
Maybe the easiest way to learn, or the easiest way to hear the difference, right, is to take, I don't know, let's say the McLaren 650S, right? You take a road-going 650S, chuck a racing exhaust on it, it's going to sound the same as the Group 4 car, right? So you drive it, you listen to it, and you go, oh yeah, that's what it sounds like. Then you hop in the Group 4 car, and you go, holy smokes, why is it so much louder? It's a race car, it's stripped out, it's got
no sound.
Try that next time you're on GT7, and let me know how you get along. So yeah,
that's
maybe I'll do some videos on it. But
that's very cool.
Because there was an update.
Follow his Twitter; it'll be on the screen.
Yeah, it'll be on the screen. Because that was one of the patch. That was one of the changes they did in a few updates back. Was they changed how much the volume? They made it a little bit louder. Stage
more
2
of a difference.
Yeah, was a bit more audibly different. So yeah, but
that's cool, man.
What I was getting at is that so many people think, more power, racing tires, sweet as, but obviously there's a lot more to it than that. So.
Yeah,
exactly.
Each the different modifications that you make actually affect it in ways, in subtle ways that you're describing that we would never think about. You know, we do weight reduction just to make the car go faster and stop faster. But Polyphony have gone, it makes the car go faster and stop faster, but also when you're inside it, it changes the noise because that's what would happen in a real car.
It actually sounds.
And that's one of those things.
So underrated. That's so underrated.
Yeah.
That's underrated, man.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone talking about that.
Do.
You know, that deserves much more credit than it's getting.
Maybe I'll do that tonight. Even I'll just go again. It's a bit hard too because like weight reduction is a permanent thing. Like you can't just go into the settings. Oh, I want stage 1 weight reduction. Oh, I want stage 3. So unless you're like specifically, you know, listening for it, you don't know. Or maybe you've got 2 different cars. One's got stage 0, one's got stage 5. You know, like
you could just buy two Honda Civics from the used car lot, do the weight reduction on one, nothing on the other, and then drive them and see the difference.
Yeah. But that's worth talking about. We have gone wildly off topic, gentlemen. We were talking about we were talking about.
You said before we started, we're going with the flow.
We always go with the flow.
That's okay.
Right.
That's part of what makes this podcast, I think, not too shabby. So, Ferrari VGT.
If you do say so yourself.
I do say, no, you're the one that does all the work. I just talk a bit of smack and share some exposition. But Ferrari VGT, obviously, coming tomorrow. Can't wait. Which car do you want to talk about
There's
first?
Some other ones. There's some. Hey?
Which car do you want to talk about first? Because you got 4 to choose from.
Let's get the Toyota Celica World Rally car out of the way.
Yes!
Atom C's happy about
the Castrol Toyota Celica. I'm so happy.
Cheater car, the illegal car. It should be banned from all the races. If you drive that car in a Nations Cup race, you just get banned straight away.
You just get banned. I wonder if it'll be Group B. I hope it is.
Yeah, that was my question.
I'm expecting it to be honest, because they've already got the Celica GT4 as a road car. So they should make it Group B. And I think that'll be really cool.
They need to just not call it Group B anymore. Like they need to break away. It was cool in GT Sport because obviously they were all fictional cars and, you know, good for them. It was a fictional fake mock-up class and then they got the Pikes Peak Quattro and that was kind of like, yeah, okay, we'll tolerate it. Now they just need to call it like Group R or Group D or something, and just then it could be a.
They could bring back the X. They could call it just Group X, but X can stand for like
extreme off-road or
extreme.
Something. Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't really work.
I think Group R or Group D is good. You know, stick with the group category.
Well, they've gone with B because Group B is an old.
Yes.
Like it's an
homage.
Real life.
It's an homage to the category that was crucified. At one point, it was too dangerous.
Yeah, but they went with Group B because and you got to remember at the start of sport they didn't have the Quattro or they didn't have any real rally cars, so all those cars that they built were just a modern reimagining of if Group B was still around today, what would the cars look like? You know, how would they drive? How would they perform?
Four-wheel drive Mustang, the four-wheel drive MSX.
Yeah. So now that they've answered that question and they've added the Quattro and the Peugeot, and now there's the Celica coming. If it is Group B, it might not be. You know, the Escudo's not Group B, so no, it's not categorized.
What?
It'd be way too OP, I reckon.
It would be, but like surely it could be bopped. You know?
Well, it would get bopped.
Surely,
you'd be running like half the power.
Yeah, and then the power band is so steep that it would just be weird. I don't know.
So they haven't bopped the Escudo, so it's entirely possible they might not bop the Celica. But if they do, I mean, like I said, they've Group B.
I hope they do.
Yeah.
I do hope that they do. I do love that car. But do we want to go into the history of the car and the cheating scandal that it went through? About it?
Go on then, because I'm actually not aware.
Are you not up to speed on this?
I'm not across it.
Oh, it's good. It's a good story. It's a good historic story.
Go on then. We got time.
All right. Well, the car was back. This is back in what group was it, Nismo? Was it Group A?
Group A. Yeah. So you had the Lancia Delta, the Evos, the Imprezas. Yeah, that's.
So this is back when you had to make 2,500 units of the car you're entering in the competition and sell them to the public. And then they were obviously modified for rally and things like that. And I think it was Toyota Team Europe that had the car. They were They were the ones who were running it in the Rally Championship, in the World Rally Championship. Is that right? No?
That's about right, yeah. Team Toyota Europe, TTE, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Toyota Team Europe, yeah, something like that. Anyway, a European team running the Castrol livery, the Toyota. So the cars had, I think, restrictors on the turbo inlet to kind of bop the power so that it was all equal. They could all only get an identical amount of air into the turbo and therefore into the engine that'll make the same power. And one of the engineers on TTE had developed a very, very, very clever component that allowed them to basically get the car to inhale more air and bypass in a small way the valve and the blocker or whatever you would call it, and allow a bit more air in. And it would only open to allow this extra air in when everything was sealed up and closed. And when the car was inspected, just at normal times, they'd take it apart and nothing would look unusual. And it all looked perfect. The what do they call it? They don't call it a blocker.
Like it's scrutineering. Oh no, sorry. What are you talking about?
No, the component itself that they put on it.
Yeah, it was like a little housing that. So you got your turbo and you got your little inner bit that goes in there, but there was like a rubber. I
can't remember the word for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was designed to prevent a larger amount of air going in, so it was a restrictor. Yeah. It was a restrictor. That's what it was called. And yeah, they put like some kind of valve on it that would push the restrictor away from the housing, so that more air would come in around the restrictor as well as through it. So it wasn't noticeable during scrutineering. They weren't found for it. They only got pinged for it because someone knew about it and told the officials about its existence.
This is the thing, though. This is the thing. No, we don't actually know how. We assume it was a whistleblower, but to this day, people don't exactly know how the FIA caught onto it. The obvious answer is a whistleblower, but yeah,
somebody dobbed them in. Is the general consensus?
Yeah, basically,
it's kind of similar to Volkswagen's Dieselgate. They had a similar thing.
Was that their emissions thing?
Developed. Yeah, the emissions scandal, because they they developed a program that the car would run on, and it would only access that particular engine map when it sensed the car was being tested. So obviously when the car was being tested, it was sat on a rig being revved up, but basically they fitted the cars with sensors to tell whether the car was actually moving, and if the car was revving and the wheels were spinning but the car wasn't physically moving, it detected being tested. We'll use the test map, but then like customer cars, they wouldn't use it, so they
got all the power and none of the lack of
blowing out more emissions.
Oh, here we go. So I've just found the little schematic of the turbo. I'll show you in a second. But so
it's great. It's fantastic. It's like little claws that would push it away, basically.
Yeah. So the FIA would happily tear apart an engine if it meant finding minute thing, right? And so basically, when the car was moving and the turbo was engaged, right, the restrictor plate would be moved back just a couple of mil, and it was just enough to negate the effect of the restrictor. So here's your...
Or reduce it, at least.
So there's... don't know if you can see. So there's your legal, and there's your illegal.
Crazy.
Well, what's it? 5 millimeters.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
5 millimeters.
So that was just enough, and I think it was good for like 15% more power, I think, Atom.
It was a lot. It was significant. But it was not enough for people to necessarily go, they must be cheating, because they weren't convinced until someone dobbed them in, I'm pretty sure.
The irony is that they were accused of something completely different. I think it was like illegal fuel. They were like, oh, the fuel must be illegal. So they got tested, and obviously the fuel was mint.
It was fine. Yeah.
And it was the turbo all along, so...
Yeah.
So it turned out to be a big scandal, did it?
Oh yeah, it was huge. They got kicked out. They were gone. They were never allowed to compete with it again. I think the team got banned. I'm not sure, but the great part of the story is the FIA scrutineer who found it, or who was the guy who took it apart and discovered it and figured out how it worked and what it did. He said it was the most ingenious piece of engineering that he had ever seen in his life.
Wow.
Because it was just
that's just a compliment.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, you know, they're cheating and they're banned, obviously, but I am so impressed with how clever the device and the invention was. So, you know, like the guy on the team who made it, like, you know, clever guy.
Ultimate kudos. Yeah. It's probably the most genius, probably the most genius turbo-related cheat since. But the only one that comes close was Ford in 2003. That was like with the storing the boost past the restrictor. I don't know if you guys know about that one.
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about that one.
I'll summarize it because it's completely off topic again. But Ford in 2003 had the European spec Ford Focus, but they ran the United States.
Was this Rally too?
Yeah, this was Rally as well. So if you look at the 2002 Ford Focus and the 2003 Ford Focus, they used the American bumpers, which are a lot bigger, they're bulkier. And the reason they did that was because they had a little tank behind the bumper that stored, so you had your turbo, the air comes in through the turbo, there was a small bleed off that went to a tank behind the bumper.
It was a little home for compressed air.
And it was stored there, and basically whenever they wanted a boost, they could just release that air and it gave them more power. The thing about it was, because that air had already been past the restrictor, it was fair game, so they could add it on top of the restrictor.
That's interesting. So did they like permanently reduce their power and then allow themselves to influx a large amount at once?
Yeah, I'm not sure how exactly it was implemented.
Because it sounds like there would be a con to that as much as there's a pro.
Yeah, you know? Well, they must have done it in such a way that they were still obviously not compromising performance. And the only way they got found out was because they one of the cars was involved in a scrap and the bumper came off, and they said, "Oh, what's that tank for?"
I was about to say that. Surely,
that sounds like something that's easy to find.
Fender bender. Yeah. As soon as you have a fender bender and the bumper falls off, they're like, "Oh, what's that tank doing?"
You come around it. Like it wasn't like a big obvious look at this tank.
Yeah. It would have been quite small, But as long as you can carry, 40 psi of, well, I mean that's pressure, but it wouldn't have to be particularly large.
I get what you're saying. Be like
because you'd be adding it to already compressed air that's running through the system anyway, so you could just bleed in a pound of pressure at a time, and you'd get a significant boost for a long period.
It's like in like Need for Speed games, how they have a nitrous boost, but the nitrous magically recharges.
Yeah. That's as you're driving. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Yeah,
only as you're driving in oncoming traffic, right?
yeah.
Every time you have a near miss with a car, you get a little bit extra.
Is that why they like driving through trees in Finland? Is that why they like having the trees, so they keep getting them near miss?
But the Celica is a very cool addition, and a lot of history behind that car. The race car itself was really cool.
Yeah.
The homologation car, because you had to make 2,500 to sell to the public in order to enter it in the WRC, is worth so much money. Because there was literally only 2,500 made. That they made 2,500,
really?
And that was it. They stopped.
Did it have the illegal turbo?
On the production
on the
model,
road car, did it have?
No, because they weren't fitted with the restrictor, so they didn't need the illegal turbo.
Fair enough.
There you go. Yeah.
The WRC one came with this 2,500 homologation one, because I've owned two of these cars, but they weren't the WRC one. The extras that they have is they have all the plumbing required for anti-lag. To put it on the real car. You have everything there that you need. I can't remember what it's missing. It's missing like one thing, and then it's done. You can turn it on and it's good.
Nice.
And it's also got. I can't remember, but it's got all the plumbing that it needs for it. I think it's because it's not run electrically. It's run in some other way, but. It was easy to add on. It had a higher rear wing, and it had like a water sprayer for the intercooler. That would cool down the intercooler just while it was sending air through it. So it had a couple of cool things on it, and they're worth a pretty penny. Those cars, they're worth a lot.
Yeah,
they all have the little plate on it saying number 137 of 2,500.
Have a little plaque. Yeah. So okay.
When are you buying one, Atom?
Never. I think New Zealand got like 3 of them.
Oh, mate, okay,
yeah, but hey,
I don't know.
The same thing happened. The same thing happened with the Autek Pulsar. They only made like 570 of them,
and you have like 3 of them.
I got 4, but so many of them are like have been imported to New Zealand now that like they're semi-common around. What's that? Oh, it's an
you picked yours up quite cheap, haven't you? Because people don't know what they are.
I paid. What did I pay? Like $1,200, and I had to go pick it up from Wellington.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
People don't know what they have, man.
That's all right. And how much are they worth?
Well, there's a mint one on Trade Me at the moment for like 13 grand, but that's like low case, mint condition.
Yeah,
it's hard to say how much because it would take someone who knows what they're looking for to find it. Because Nismo now would probably see one that's selling for 5,000 and be like, nah, it's too much, to be honest. I got that one for 1,200. Surely I can find another one.
What's really interesting though, well, yeah, like all things though, you get your low K ones and you get your ones with the like some of them come with a body kit. There's like a particular body kit.
Yeah, and the wing.
They're only made. Yep. What's really interesting is that Australia has a lot of like, I don't know how the logistics work, but I guess New Zealand imported a lot more of them than Australia because every time I post something, because like I'll be selling some tail lights or some side skirts or just any bit that I don't want or don't need, and most of the people that hit me up are, oh, can you send it to Australia? Can you send it to Victoria? Would you do shipping? And it's like Australia's got a hell of a demand for them, and we've got all the market by the looks. So that's just
all the stocks in New Zealand.
Yeah, for some reason. So. Yes. So anyway, we've gone
because you're hoarding them
again. Yeah, well, that's true.
Oh yeah, I know. We've got to get to Monaco.
What's the next car?
The next cars. These ones
that's the only one that I cared about.
Significantly less history to them, I guess. We've got the Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA. The only thing I will say is I'm surprised it's not the GTAm or the GTAm because I think the.
Sorry, I think it actually is the GTAm because I remember seeing.
Is it?
I remember seeing someone saying, "Oh, I wish it was just the GTA because," and they had their reason. So I think it might be the GTAm.
Okay. Am I full of crap?
I don't know my.
We don't know because we're only going off silhouettes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's funny because I've written GTA because I remember like someone saying, "Oh, I wish it was the GTAm,"
and now Nismo's got the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
People just
find
don't know.
out tomorrow.
We're going to find out. We're going to find out very soon, anyway. But yeah,
our viewers will know before they even watch this episode.
Exactly. So, and then the other ones, the Bugatti Chiron. I think that's good because we've only really had the Bugatti VGT, which kind of
is it a Group 3? So that we can have Bugatti and manufacturers.
True.
I don't know. See, this is a question that I've actually pitched before to various people. Is that if Bugatti got a Group 3 car, would it be the Veyron or would it be the VGT?
It'd surely be a VGT. There's no Veyron race car as far as I know.
Yeah, but there's no Veyron Group 4 either, but here we are, so...
Yeah. But a GT3 race car is generally like something that exists.
Yeah, that's true. The Chiron's going to be the big ticket item. That's going to be $2-3 million.
Yeah. What colour's your Bugatti?
I was just going to say, there's going to be an Andrew Tate livery.
Yep. 100%. Cobra livery.
So that'll be. I feel like it's going to be very hyped, but it's going to drive. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be slow.
Yeah, it's not going to handle very well, is it? I already know that.
It's going to come on sport hard tires, which is only going to compound the issue. Hey, whatever. I can't wait to whack racing.
The actual Bugatti Chiron have to get special tires designed specifically for it to deal with the 400k an hour speed. Topping speed. Yeah.
But it was the same with...
That sounds correct.
Same with the regular Veyron, same with the... I think the Pagani Huayra's got its own, because the rear tyres are so fat. They're thick boys.
They're huge.
Yeah, so that'll be the big ticket item.
And then the last one we think is the C8 Corvette, the most recent Chevrolet Corvette.
I'm a fan of that. This is
the one that we think. This is the one that we think because, I've heard some people suggesting it might be is it the Maserati MC20 or something?
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, right? We're all I've got these from Nenkai, so he's the bloke on Twitter that
data miner,
mines. Yeah, the data miner basically. He's basically confirmed what the cars are going to be. And actually, Nismo and I were, just before you got here, Atom, Nismo and I were sort of just briefly discussed, is it good that we have Nenkai or a data miner to tell us?
I'm not
we
complaining.
Prefer to...
If you don't want to see his stuff, you just don't follow him on Twitter and you'll be fine.
Well, there you go. Yeah. I've just gone to his tweet, by the way. It is the GTAm for the Alfa Romeo, so I was wrong.
There you go.
Apologies, everyone. Look at
that.
It out,
mate. Come on.
False advertising going on here. But yeah, basically he's got Chevrolet Corvette C8 Stingray, Toyota Celica GT4 rally car, Ferrari Vision Gran Turismo, Alfa Romeo Giulia GTAm, and Bugatti Chiron. That's what he's written.
See, the logical
on his tweet for what's coming.
The next question that I know we're going to start seeing crop up more often is, when are we going to get the C8R? And when are we going to get
the road car, or is that the race car?
The race car, the Group 3.
It's the race car.
Yeah, I was literally about to ask that. I think that should come too. We got the Audi R8 LMS Evo, so why can't they, add other modern?
To be fair, right, whole can of worms, but Chevrolet is not the only one with outdated. Outdated GT or Group 3. Group 4
we've only just had the Nissan come in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And
Ferrari comes to mind particularly because the 458 was 2 generations ago. They're up to the F8 now. We haven't seen the 488.
The Ferrari 488 could come to the game and it would already be outdated. So
yeah, exactly.
I mean, the new Nissan's not even that modern, isn't it? It's like 2018.
Yeah, but I don't really think there's been much change, whereas the Ferrari's gone through a whole nother generation.
Right.
The Nissan...
The Mercs as well? What are the Mercs running now?
Yeah, they're still running AMGs.
Still no Bentleys.
AMG GTs.
Aston Martin could do with an upgrade. They've got the V12 Vantage.
They could.
They updated the livery. That's nice.
I
drove that car recently.
I know.
In the
game. It was a good video.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. I hope to get another one out soon.
With the 720S.
Yeah. Of course. Yep.
Yeah, that's another one. I'd like to see that. I've always wanted the 720S. I'm a bit of a McLaren fan. So.
If anyone's played ACC, then they'll have an idea of what cars should become. Yeah, that we want to come to Gran Turismo. So
exactly.
I've been playing that recently, actually. Funnily enough.
Yes. Did you do all right in your slick tires on the rain?
No, I ended up using the wet tires.
Funny
I
how you need the wet tires in the rain.
I was last.
Wait, dead set?
Yeah, I was. No, but I was too slow. I'm not good enough on that game yet. But I learned a lot.
You'll get there. You'll get there.
Fair enough.
Just keep trying. You'll get there. We'll take Sarah's line. Okay, well, the other big stuff before we get to Monaco. We've still got Monaco to talk about. I'm raring to get into that. Yep. Tracks. We've got a new track, and this is traditionally a pretty big deal in the old Gran Turismo update verse. Road Atlanta is now in Gran Turismo 7. What do we reckon?
Haven't driven it yet.
Yeah, no, I haven't driven it yet either.
I've been on the game lately, honestly.
No, same.
Well, we've got, after this comes out, I will have been already, but we got the F1 competition in Auckland this weekend, which is taking up a lot of time.
I'm coming to see you for that, because I've been asked to race in the curtain raiser, so...
Really? Who asked you to do that?
Nice.
Oh, one of the guys that I know through a guy who knows, and yeah, it's sort of the...
A guy who knows a guy got me a seat in a Red Bull competition.
I need to find out. I need to find out from you afterwards too, just exactly who's coming, because I want to try and see if we can't do something about, do some content for that. But anyway,
me, Matthew, and Monkey Matt, as well as I think Tez, if he turns up. I assume he's coming.
Yeah.
But he's qualified. He's in. So if he's coming,
damn, this sounds good.
You know what's crazy is it's an F1.
If I literally wasn't in a different
country. It's a New Zealand Championship F1 Esports competition, right? But all of the drivers who are going are Gran Turismo drivers.
Yeah. Well, we got Lewis and Dub True coming along. Hopefully,
if that doesn't strike, if that doesn't mean that Gran Turismo is the superior sim. I don't know what does.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty cool thing. Personally, I think that's
the chances of a GT driver winning are pretty high.
They are pretty high.
Speaking,
you got 4 out of 5. I think there's only one person who's not a Gran Turismo driver that we know of, anyway.
Are they actually like Formula 1 instead?
Nah, I don't know what they are.
Driver?
If it's the guy I think it is, which I don't think it could be, because I'm pretty sure they weren't 18, so I don't actually think it would be them. But there was a young kid in Tauranga who turned up, and he and I both had a go on the Assetto Corsa simulators, which were run by a company called The Cave. Really cool stuff, by the way. Shout out The Cave. We both had a go, and he had a faster lap time than me, only marginally, but we both got the same, chance to set a lap time, and he outperformed me. So he's clearly, got his head screwed on when it comes to that sort of stuff. Turned up and drove on the GT sims that I was running, and did very well there as well. Don't know how fast in comparison to myself he was there, but hopefully he wasn't as fast. But he was really good. So there's a lot of people around that come from other sims that they transfer the skills and they do quite well.
Yeah.
That's cool, yeah. That'll be a good little competition there.
Exciting.
Looking forward to it. So anyway, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. If neither of you guys have driven it, then it's not really much point asking you guys how you think about it, but it's...
I've seen a lot of footage.
I heard the track limits are crap.
The track limits are... As always...
We're seeing a bit of that in the time trial this week.
I think the thing about
the time trial is Road Atlanta.
Every track there's going to be track limits that can be exploited, right? And it's especially because the time trial is a very... it's Gran Turismo's Formula One car, so to speak. It's their single-seater.
The X2019 is the holy grail of Gran Turismo racing.
It's the pinnacle of esports competition. It's their Formula One. Yeah, it's probably the best way to describe it.
When's the last time we had a World Tour event and the final race for Nations Cup wasn't in the X2019?
I don't remember
think so. No, I think that.
I think we have.
I think
we have, but it's like I think there's been one time where it hasn't been. Oh, I know where. It was Le Mans in the F1500 TA.
Oh yes,
Ockerburn got dived by Karatza on the last chicane.
That's right. I remember that one now.
By Crash Ratzer.
Yeah, Crash Ratzer. That's the one. Shout out Tom Brooks for that one.
We can't get him on as a guest anymore.
Oh, man. Adriano won't be coming on our podcast anytime soon. Thanks to that.
He will not be. No.
So the X2019 is basically the final boss of Gran Turismo, so to speak. It's the car that. If you're Valerio Gallo or if you're Igor Fraga and you have made it, you're within the trophy is within your hand, sort of thing. You have to get through that car first, right? So
exactly,
it's always going to be a very finicky car to drive, and especially at a track like Road Atlanta, which I didn't know anything about it. I'd never seen it. I'd never driven it. I'd never nothing before this update dropped. So. My experience in Gran Turismo is literally my first experience with the track, and it's pretty tedious at first. Like, it's one of those ones. Chase cam is actually it's a pretty good cheat because of how undulating the surfaces are. It's actually pretty hard to race in.
Yeah, it looks like you can't see much.
Yeah, you sort of you do need to sort of sight the track a bit, and then once you know what's coming, then obviously you can it's very blind, very blind. But it's a minute lap, as you've seen with the Red Bull, so we're not talking the most complex track in the world, we're not talking the most technical, but it is, once you know where everything is, you can pretty consistently lap it. And
a lot of high-speed corners, eh?
A lot of very high-speed corners, and also corners that drag on for a lot. You're turning for quite a while compared to, obviously, some other comparative corners. So there's certainly... It's not a very tyre-friendly track.
Nah, it looks like there's not a lot of opportunity to overtake too. Although I did see a lot of people posting really, really videos of races they were really happy about from the daily race in the MX-5s there. That looked like fun, but I think that's almost more so down to the MX-5 than the track itself.
It's definitely, and it's hard too because one of the races that came with the track was a 30-minute Group 1 race. So all the talk about slow cars are the best and low power, it's really good. But then you still also have to wrangle a Group 1 car around there with just the same.
Well, that's the thing, right? Is it it's the host track for the Petit Le Mans? Am I right? Am I correct in saying that, or have I got the wrong track?
Something like that. They do run prototypes around there. They do.
I think there's an endurance. There's a annual endurance race that happens at Road Atlanta.
Short track for an endurance race. Holy!
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
60 seconds.
Well,
that's ridiculous.
That's in a Red Bull.
60 seconds in a Red Bull.
It's probably a minute.
With hybrid power, I think I'd be going faster.
Actually, there was a guy. There was a guy. Because as soon as I heard that the track was coming, I was like, on YouTube. I was like, right, I need to see what this looks like, and I think the laps that I saw were sort of like minute 15, minute 16, and that was a Daytona prototype. The guy was like sort of commentating his lap. Oh, you turn here and you brake here, and wow, look, I'm fast. So the pit entry is a real mongrel too. By the way, it's probably one of the hardest pit entries to not get a penalty.
I've heard this from GT drivers.
Interesting.
I definitely
I'll tell you what. Another one that we discovered was very easy to get a penalty on recently was Tsukuba.
Yeah.
Tsukuba pit
Do you have to follow the pit entry?
Not once you go past the little board. No. The pit entry line. You know how you have the solid white line and you have a dotted line. Usually that you can cross the dotted line, but not the solid white line. The dotted line is about a car length long, and then it's all solid white. And before the dotted line, it's grass. So you've got you got a really small window to get into the pit lane.
I think the thing to remember.
You have to really know you got to do it.
I think the thing to remember too with Tsukuba is that it's a very small car track. Like it's built for like S14s, Trunos, smaller
MX-5s.
They can do a 59-second lap, but they're not like you're not going to see Super GT cars there. You're not going to see prototypes. You're not going to see Red Bulls. It's
unless it's Gran Turismo, in which case they'll run a manufacturers series event with GT3
Here's a
cars.
Funny little bit of trivia. Nismo, you've jogged my memory. Tsukuba back in GT Sport was added in the same update as Super GT cars were.
Yeah.
So obviously, I don't think they were implying I don't think they were implying the Super GT cars belong on Tsukuba, but it's just funny that they were added in the same update because everyone naturally would have been like, "Oh, let's try the new car on the new track," and it was like wasn't like a actual feasible combination.
Plus the fact that Gran Turismo has a hard-on for doing roadster endurance races there. Like every single GT, I think, aside from Sport, has a roadster. Like 4 hours around Tsukuba in a roadster. That's
torture.
It takes a bit. It takes a bit. So
yeah. Okay. Well, we're almost finished with the track talk, but there's two tracks I want to bring up that are kind of. It's not confirmed, but it's rumoured that it may be coming in tomorrow's update, so it may already be in the game by the time you're watching this podcast or listening. There's two Nuerburgring layouts, Nuerburgring Sprint and Nuerburgring Endurance, so they've revealed themselves in, there was a list. Again, Nenkai, shout out to Nenkai on Twitter. But yeah, additional Nuerburgring layout. So the Nuerburgring Sprint,
that's the GP shorter, in half, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Basically, so I think you come out of the
Mercedes Arena, isn't it?
Mercedes Arena, and then you hook a right hairpin out onto the back straight before the left right onto the back straight. You know
what's crazy about adding that is that Tidney did a video about track layouts that weren't in the game that could be in the game very easily, and that was like Suzuka West. And Nürburgring layout C or D or whatever it is that cuts the GP in half. And he literally drove the car on the track and he said, "Look here, this is the road that it uses. There's barriers in the way, obviously, because this is the GP layout. But if they remove the barriers, we could drive here and use this layout of track." And now they're doing it. So maybe they watch his videos.
Now they're potentially doing it.
Well, they watched his.
It could be.
They watched his. Dear Gran Turismo video, that famous one from a couple of years ago. They did watch that. He said on stream that someone actually contacted him to translate it to Japanese so they could watch it.
Oh,
which I thought was
that's really cool.
I'm sure Tidney was probably
he would have been stoked,
happy about that. Yeah. He was proud of that. Actually, something else I did want to mention regarding that back in GT Sport, when the Nürburgring GP layout was initially in the game, I forget whether it was added as an update or it was there from launch or whatever, but when it was first appeared in the game, it was called GPF, because that's the actual name of the track.
Yes, it was.
But then in a later update, they removed the F and just called it GP. I think they did that to kind of remove the speculation that the GPD layout could be added, because that's what the Sprint is. It's actually called GPD.
Licensing.
But yeah.
Stands for some
So
German
I guess
word, probably.
they got rid of the F to stop speculation, I guess. But it's good to see. I mean, it's still called GP in GT7 now, but we are getting the other circuit, the shorter one. The other one, I feel like it's a little bit of an unnecessary addition. The Nürburgring Endurance. It's the 24-hour layout, except it uses the GPD.
Yeah, so it cuts the GP in half the same way.
It just cuts the GP in half, and that's it.
I feel like it was in Gran Turismo 5 or 6 or something. Wasn't it called like the Nürburgring Type V? Something like that. I remember, I recall seeing some layout. It was called Type V. And same
interesting
thing.
I like that they're adding that. I mean, I don't think anyone's ever going to use it, but I think it's a layout that obviously exists in real life and does get used.
Yeah, true.
So
I guess there's also plenty of other variants too, because we don't know whether. We don't know just yet.
Well, I wonder if there's a version of the
maybe the Nürburgring Endurance uses the Mercedes Arena, whereas the Nürburgring 24-hour layout doesn't, or maybe the Sprint. Or maybe the Sprint layout will use the open chicane.
I think
the 24-hour chicane.
I think the big complaint that's going to come, if they come in the same update, which I mean, hey, they might not.
Exactly. We don't know.
Catalonia, obviously, remember it got 3 layouts in one update, and that was huge. One of them was just the chicane removal, which right. Yeah. I liked it, but
everyone liked it. Everyone said the track was so much better because of it.
Yeah, it's certainly.
Unrelated. I don't necessarily think the racing was better because of it, but the track is nice.
It's nice to drive. Yeah,
nice to drive, and I think because again, Catalonia GP is pretty much only Formula 1 cars. So if you're going to have Group 3 cars, or
I was surprised they didn't add the
Group 4
a longer corner at the hairpin, but that's all right.
Yeah, hey, that'll come in a future update, buddy. It's all good, but I think the complaint that's going to start cropping up if we start seeing too many more of these alternate layouts is like fleshing out the track list.
We want a new track.
Yeah, we want a new location.
Oh.
So there's my reboot your router. What?
Oh, has it gone?
Oh, he's back. No, you're back. Yeah, you just went robot for a second, but you're all good. You're
going to have to start the sentence from about 5 or 6 seconds ago.
Oh, okay. So, you get accused of like fleshing out the track list.
Yeah.
So, since launch, we've had a Spa 24-hour layout. We've had the Watkins Glen, which obviously America. We've kind of been alternating.
24 hours most pointless layout. Who decided that was a good idea?
It's so funny.
Honestly.
The thing about it, right, I think I see a common misconception with that track that people go, the start-finish line is moved. It's like, no, you just start the race.
No, the start line is moved. The finish line is not moved.
Yeah, but as soon as you start the race, the laps are counted from the original start line. So literally, as soon as you've completed the start, the track is identical, except for the longer
literally cut out
longer
pit lane.
Yeah,
and also the fact that you watch.
No, but that's 2 tracks, mate. 2 tracks.
Hang on a minute. But I suppose the thing about Spa 24 is also that the car transits the entire pit lane rather than just popping out at the end.
Yeah.
I do like that, but I'm like, couldn't they just done that anyway?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah,
probably. I think I should do that at every track. To be honest,
what do you guys think about the way pit stops are? Like, would you prefer that the car actually transited the whole pit lane, or do you like those little cinematic?
I'd rather see an animation from start to finish of the pit lane instead of just the camera going to the pit box and just hovering over your mechanics while they wait for the car to turn up.
To be fair, right?
I think I'll tell you
the
track that did it right was is Watkins Glen. I think they've done it right.
Did they?
Yeah.
I don't think I've done many pit stops.
I don't remember.
Watkins Glen, you teleport straight to your pit box.
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen, you teleport straight to your pit box, and then when you exit the pits, the car drives out the entire pit lane, and you stay on board for the whole thing.
Okay.
I think it's really good, and it's a good length pit loss. It's not a short one.
I think they've done that I think there's a cut or like there's a delay, like the camera jumps to the pit box and then waits for your car. I think they've done that so they can alter how long the pit stop takes. So like the difference would be how long, like the period of time in between when you jump, like the camera jumps to the pit box and then when the car arrives. The difference between those two events are the things that change. But in answer to your question directly, I mean, you guys know I have strong opinions on the pit stops in Gran Turismo, but yeah, they're way too long for the lengths of the races that are traditionally held. But I would accept it if the alternative is the pit stops are always exactly the same length, and the length is like how long it would actually take to transit the pit lane.
So just regardless of track, they're always 20 seconds.
No. Depending on the track. So, like at Bathurst in real life, maybe it takes 30 seconds to transit the pit lane. It would then take 30 seconds in Gran Turismo as well. So, I would like to see either pit lengths proportional to the races, or I would just like to see the car, you drive into the pit lane, you stay on board as the car drives down the pit lane, pulls into its box, completes the pit stop, and then like you stay on board till it exits the pits as well. There we go. That's what I reckon.
I like the onboard from pit entry to box to pit exit. I like.
Yeah. Do you want to be on board the whole way?
Well, not on board the whole way, but I want to see the car roll from the start to the finish.
Yeah. You want to see it rolling, so to speak.
So I hear you, Smoke. I hear you about wanting the shorter pit stops. I sort of want to go the opposite, and I suppose this is how we sort of get into talking about Monaco, right?
Get out of here, mate. Get out of here,
you're off the team.
So like...
No, this is a safe space.
The Monaco demo event. So we're starting to talk about Monaco, but we're not talking about Monaco yet. The demo event, right? 25th anniversary celebrations. You get to feel like you're part of the world finals driver who struggles to do a lap clean. But one of the big takeaways from those events is that the races were longer. They were significantly longer. In fact, they were so long. The manufacturer one was so long that slot 1 you couldn't do slot 2 because slot 2 had already started by the time the race was over. And it just meant that more could happen. And that sounds really obvious and really stupid, but like, I did all the manufacturer races, right? I don't know if you guys did all.
I just did one.
Yeah. I did at least one of each round.
Yeah.
But I didn't do all the slots of every round.
No, well, you couldn't because the races were so long, but... Do
we think they should bring back 1 hour 20 slot gaps?
I think so.
I reckon it depends on the race.
Would you be happy to get them to make the total time of quali and race together a little bit longer if it meant... and make it 1 hour 20 gaps?
Yes.
Would you rather that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think because
absolutely, 100%.
What happened with the manufacturers was 15 laps of Spa, right? So you're talking like a 40-minute race because it's 2 minutes. It was one of those ones that because it started off wet and it finished dry. The start of the race you're doing like 2-minute 30 laps, 2-minute 40. By the end of the race you're doing I think 2:17, 2:16 was if you were a fast driver, right? You could there was enough time in the race that you could make a mistake or you could have a moment and claw your way back, but then on the flip side you could get off to a ripper start and then have it all undone. Like it was more freedom, because what happens in a lot of the current GTWS races is that you qualify and provided there's no big crash or no like death, right? Maybe you gain a couple spots, maybe you lose a couple spots, but for the most part, you pretty much know where you're sitting anyway. There's no racing.
Yeah.
So having a longer race and having, the races that really force strategy, like I don't know how you buy compounds available, but with the manufacturer's one, it was the only strategy was how soon do you change to slicks, because obviously the track was dry. Some people, they changed early. And then they slipped on a puddle and they died, and that was, they crashed. That was it. Game over. Other people...
Guilty. I did that too.
I smoke.
But it ruined the largest undercut in the history of racing.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but then other people went the other way.
That's all right.
Some people... went the other too long on the wet tires. So obviously they compromised the gap that they had, and then they have to pit anyway because obviously you had to put hard tires on. I won my race because the leader never put slicks on. He did the entire race with intermediates, and he just duked it out on a dry track with worn inters. So, but yeah.
For those who don't know, the hard tyre was actually mandatory for some reason. So you got a 1 minute penalty if you didn't use it.
But even then, I caught him regardless. Like I didn't need the 60
Oh,
seconds.
you caught him regardless. Oh, okay, right.
I caught him with like a lap and a bit to go. I was really
have some faith,
goodness me. Who is? Sorry. No, that's not what I was implying. I was actually about to say, what was the other guy doing? Bloody lapping around clowning.
I was reeling him.
Goodness me.
I was reeling him in something like 5 or 6 seconds a lap, and that was
Nismo OP. Please nerf.
Yeah, you talk all the time about never winning your second split races, and here you are destroying a man on strategy alone.
Absolutely clapping this guy.
But me winning a race because he didn't change tyres is like saying he didn't. Why'd you win the race? Oh, because he blew up. His engine blew up.
Well, that's like asking Esteban. That's like asking Ocon, right? That's like asking Ocon. How did you win? You only won Hungary because half the field crashed. It's like you have still won.
Well, what about the other 16 drivers that you beat without that guy? If you took that guy out of the race, you still beat all those other guys fair and square.
That's true. But look. Hey, I'm not saying I never have my days, but what I'm trying to work on is having those days a bit more consistently.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, what I'm getting at is I think I would absolutely be cool with the hour and 20 minutes if it meant longer races.
Yeah.
More can happen. Not necessarily that every race has to be a tyre strategy or a fuel strategy. I don't mind the odd lights to flag, let the racing do the talking.
It's about variety.
I like variety as well. A sprint race, a tyre race, a fuel race, a combination of all, and then back to the
race.
There's so many different options, man. So much different activities.
We do not see night racing as much as I wish.
In GT World Series,
it's another topic. Yeah. Just
honestly,
you get it occasionally.
In the 2023 Nations season, Super Formula at Bathurst in the middle of the night. It's a good idea.
Stop it, you.
Make sure you fit the 4K headlights.
I think we've only had 2 night races. We had that one at Daytona, and then there was the one with the GR010.
One at Daytona, yeah, that was manufacturers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and then there was the Toyota Gazoo and the GR010 at Le Mans.
Yeah, that was a nice. I love that transition from night to morning. That was beautiful.
The only problem with my race, because that was back when the lobbies were glitching, so they just black screened the entire thing. It black screened, but everyone was still driving. But I think it was like 20 or so minutes the thing happened, and by the end of it, there was like 8 of us because obviously most of the field had left. But the daylight cycle had still been cycling in the background, so we actually started the race in broad daylight. Everyone else, I was watching everyone else's videos.
It's a bit disappointing, isn't it?
I was watching everyone else's videos, and it was like, oh man, they got to start in the night.
Sunrise, yeah.
But for us, it was the opposite. It started in broad daylight, and I think the last lap, it was when the sun went down. So that was like, bro.
Oh, a bit disappointing for that. It happens.
So,
okay. Actually, there's one more topic. Nismo actually wanted to touch on this one. So the Road Atlanta, just briefly going back to Road Atlanta, the time trial this week is Road Atlanta with the X2019 competition.
And Willow Springs in the Suzuki.
Yes.
But no one cares about that.
That's finished. Yeah.
But the leaderboards are closed for that, so you can only look at it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something that's going on in that Road Atlanta time trial is gear shift spamming. So basically what people are doing, like coming into the last chicane in particular, you're racing up to that last chicane in 7th gear, and then they're hitting the braking zone, and they are downshifting, like pulling the downshift gears so quickly to the point where the rear wheels, like, what would we call this, compression locking? Am I correct in that term?
I think so.
Excellent. And it basically whips the back of the car around the first part of the chicane so you can open up the second part and run out onto the main straight really fast. Nismo brought up the question to me, should there be a gear shift lockout on downshift? Like, because you can do it in road cars too. You can do it in, and like even I'm guilty of this. Like racing up to a heavy brake zone in a road car, pull pull downshifts all the way down to like first
and
gear.
And you hear the limiter going bam, 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 as you go down.
Yeah, exactly. But you get extra braking. You get extra braking from it, which is why people do it. So should there be a gear shift lockout on downshifts?
I think it's 50-50. I think you could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm the one that brought up the question, so I'm not going to be like, I'm responding to you, but I think it's one of those ones that's like H-pattern gearboxes, for example, right? You can be in 6th gear, right? And you can legitimately go 6th to 4th, 4th to 2nd, or you can skip gears in an H-pattern car, that's a thing. But obviously racing cars and modern hypercars with the sequential boxes, it has a lockout and stuff. It's another one of those things that it wouldn't be hard for PD to implement, because all they would have to do is say, chuck a little bit of coding in that says, right, you downshift a gear, you can't downshift for another 0.2 of a second, or it would have to be significant enough to change the game, but obviously you don't want to downshift every 1 second or something ridiculous like that, because there has to be a very carefully and come with testing. Obviously they'd have to make sure they don't completely break the game, but I think something needs to be done. You look at iRacing, you look at ACC, and you'd never get away with some of the antics you can do on GT.
I think the reason that they have shift lockouts on those other games, and I guess in real life, if it is a real life thing, is to prevent you shifting down when you're high in the revs of the gear that you're in, to the point where when you shift down, you'd be over the red line in the gear below. It just won't let you shift down until you get to a point where if you did shift down, you would be below the red line. So in GT, you can drop a gear when you're high RPM, and you'd hear the car bouncing off the limiter until the car gets slow enough to be within the rev range again. So having that lockout would be an interesting thing to add, and I don't know if they ever will, because obviously the game is casual friendly. They don't want to make the casuals think, oh, my controller's not working, or my wheel's not working, or whatever, because I can't change gear down as fast as I want to. People aren't going to know about that, It's a real racing thing. And the other thing is, a car like the X2019 needs to be downshifted very fast, regardless of whether you're trying to get above that red line or not. It's always been a case of machine gunning down the gears, as Jimmy called it in one of the broadcasts. You go down like 4 gears in a very, very short space of time, but you never go over the limiter, because the car's got such short gears that it doesn't actually matter. You can't downshift as fast as the car can brake. So I don't know if a limiter would actually, not a limiter, but a lockout would actually do anything to the X2019. But I don't see it being a problem if they do implement it into race cars and things like that.
I think it's, and again, it's one of those ones. Yes, it needs to downshift quick, and it still could downshift quick, but there's a difference between going down the gears, bang, 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 and then bang, 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 and then basically just what these guys are doing, which is spamming it. Like there's fast, and then there's like fast downshifts, and it's not even like there's, you look at the lap at the moment, they're in 7th gear, like you say, they're downshifting all the way back to like 2nd, and then they're going straight back up to like 4th, which is driving behavior that you would never see in anything. Like there's like I said, there's fast, and then there's like fast, and I think even if we're talking a limiter of but a fraction of a second, it's again,
it would have to be different for different cars too.
I reckon. Well, it could be like an instantaneous thing. Like when you go to pull the gear, the game can go, we're still going too fast for the red line, and then not let you pull the gear.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I would expect them to implement if they did anything.
It could be like an instantaneous analysis of what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, Atom was right. It's in real life. It's a safety thing. It's a prevent the engine from grenading itself, because
blowing up.
So
if they chucking a Ferrari at Austria this year.
The thing about it is, it's one of those things that it would be a balance to the gameplay. Would it scare off the casuals? I don't think it would, because unless they're attempting a world record lap time and trying to machine gun down the gears, it's not And again,
a casual player is not doing that.
The fact that ACC and iRacing, and I'm pretty sure even like Project Cars 2, there was a lockout on how quickly down you could shift. Even in the Project Cars 2 had a formula, had a super duper better than Formula One car, and same thing. You couldn't just machine gun down the gears willy nilly. It was, you had to actually be methodical about it. So, yeah, I see the arguments for it. I see the arguments against it.
I think it's something that's minor enough that they're not going to bother with.
Yeah. It's only annoying to the world record attempters, like people like us that see the top time and we go, man, that's BS, and here's why. And so yeah. It's one of those things.
No, well, it's certainly worth discussing because
it's a good point. And if other simulators
you can hear it here.
Yeah.
There's differing opinions. Not that that's a bad thing whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, if other simulators have it, then clearly it's a thing that exists for a reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the whole point of a simulator, isn't it?
It is the real driving simulator, or so it's supposed to be. All right, well, speaking of different opinions, I've changed my opinion on how we're going to run this podcast into the closing stages. I've mentioned the Monaco World Tour a couple of times, but what's actually happened here is we've talked about the updates for way too long, to the point where if we start to talk about Monaco, this is going to be like a 4-hour episode, and at that point, it may as well be 2 episodes. So that's exactly what we're going to do. You may have even noticed the slight cut where we obviously cut the cameras and talked about this. But, okay, so that's basically what's going to happen. Monaco World Tour, keep an eye out in the new year because we are going to reconvene and we're going to break down that Monaco World Tour in even greater depth than what we were going to be able to manage to do today in the limited time that we have left after talking about the updates.
That'll be a good episode.
It will be, yeah. We'll talk really in depth about everything that happened, like the incidents and stuff. So make sure you watch up. Do your homework, fellas, because I will be too.
Yep.
But anyway, I think that's going to wrap up this podcast episode for today. So do hit the like button if you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see more podcasts from us and the Monaco one coming up very, very soon. Do leave a comment as well, as questions, comments, and constructive criticism, as always, are very much appreciated. And that's gonna do us for Christmas as well. So once again, from all the team here at the Trackside Lounge, we do wish you a very Merry Christmas. But that's going to be it from this episode today, and that means that is it from us. So once again, we do thank you very much for listening. See you later.
Bye!
Oh, excellent. Okay.